Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petrellis, and we are super excited for today's guest. This is like, I would say like a year in the making, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit less, but a very cool guest to have on here today. Someone who I remember every time I see them, and I always remember him as like the middle school kid that I met and knew. But now to see him as a grown man and seeing what he's up to, and as tough as nails, as tough as they come, and that's awesome. I love that. But it was really cool. I had seen him. We had talked at some of Mike Bolger's events and, some of his MMA fights and some of his boxing fights that we've run into each other. And the kind of following his career, he's been amateur and now he's professional fighting in boxing and amateur MMA guy. Just tough dude. And I wanted to have him on this podcast today, episode 186, former student, and excited to kind of talk about his career and the direction that it's heading. So without further ado, Jarrid Digangi. Welcome to the podcast, buddy.
Hey, welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm
Yeah, man.
excited to get you one step closer to 200.
Yeah, dude, I love it. I mean, we're creeping there. We're creeping. I told you off air, July of 25 was our goal to get to 200 from July of 23. So we're cutting it close, but we think
Yeah.
we got it. We got it. We'll head first into the finish line. So,
Yep.
but let's talk about you, dude, because every time we see each other, we really kind of talk about your career. And the one thing that I love is kind of to see like that next step that you've headed or that next thing you've done from the last time I had seen you.
Yeah.
And you got a fight coming up May 23rd in Melrose. Tell us a little bit about it, dude. You look like you're fighting like a bad dude, but you're a
I,
bad dude too. So tell
yeah.
us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So this is actually a title fight.
Okay.
This is for the Massachusetts Cruiserweight title. Um, and the guy I'm fighting, definitely the toughest fight to date. Mind you, I've done this in only 5 fights. This is my fifth pro fight. So I've gotten a title shot in 5 fights.
Well,
So yeah, the guy I'm fighting actually definitely toughest test to date. I mean the guy's a vet. He has like 16 boxing fights as a pro, and then I also know of another probably dozen MMA fights that he has. He has more boxing wins than I have pro fights.
wow.
So he's definitely the toughest test to date for sure.
Now talk about that. It's your fifth fight and you're going for a title. I mean, what was the result of your first four fights? I mean, had to be somewhat really impressive for people to kind of be like, this guy's gonna
Uh,
roll.
They were all first and second round knockouts, including I gave up 70 pounds and knocked out a heavyweight on Thanksgiving Eve. So that was kind of cool.
I mean, talk about that. Okay, like I'm not a tough dude, right? So like, I wouldn't know the first thing about knocking somebody out. But in a fight, I mean, we cover sports, so equivalent, like hitting a home run, scoring a touchdown, a big thrilling play. When you knock somebody down, dude, or knock somebody out and win that fight, talk about the adrenaline rush that runs through you.
So the crazy part about that one actually is as much weight as I gave up, I knocked him out to the body.
Wow.
I finished him with body shots. I weighed in. I gained weight for that fight. It was disgusting. And gaining weight is a million times harder than losing weight. It's so uncomfortable. I gained weight. I weighed in at 219. He weighed in at 278.
Damn. Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like God, that is a size difference.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and to kind of take that fight, I mean, we didn't mention where are you fighting out of? Where do you work out of? Who trains you?
Haverhill Inner City Boxing. I mean, my coach, I go all the way up there for my coach, Mr. Sean Farley. He's a boxing guru.
Where do you live right now?
I live in Everett.
Okay, Eris, that's a hike, dude. That's a hike to get
Oh,
to
it's
Haverhill.
over an hour with traffic. Yep.
So talk about that because we do a lot of videography work. We do a lot of work with Sonny's Boxing in Middleton,
Yep. Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
and so we a lot of the fighters that we've covered, a lot of his, kind of bigger fighters, a lot of them are traveling a distance to get to their coaches, to go to their gym because they buy into that person, they trust into that person. You're like over an hour. I mean, that is
Yeah.
a significant part of your day, and you're not even counting the back and forth. I mean, talk about the value for you knowing that traveling in time has maybe led you kind of to the point that you're at right now a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's when I go up there, it's probably a 4 or 5 hour affair. I mean, you're talking a little over an hour up, a little under an hour back because there's no traffic. I'm usually leaving the gym at 9 o'clock at night, 9:30, and then I'm in there training for 2 3 hours. So you're talking a 4 or 5 hour affair after I do a manual job all day. So but like you said, I'm sure the guys at Sunny say the same thing I say about Sean, but in my opinion, he's one of the top coaches in the country. I mean, the dude is he's a guru. Actually, you were talking about Mike Bulger a few
Yeah.
minutes ago, and his first 3 or 4 pro fights. Mike will actually tell you this himself too. It's funny. Sean called the punch that was going to end the fight for his first like 3 or 4 fights.
Yeah.
The guy's just he sees the Matrix when he looks at the ring. It's crazy.
Yeah, boxing trainers are a whole different animal. I mean, when we cover coaches, I mean, God, when I listen to Danny sometimes talk to his fighters, and he's so spot on with stuff like because I'm catching it on film and I'm like going back afterwards. And that's like the advantage of kind of doing that videography work a little bit is you go back and you're like, holy cow, this guy was like right about everything he said was going to happen. Or if you just like forcing the guy certain different directions and like, man, like I don't know if that happens a lot in the world of boxing, but you're like the second person to really say like, yeah, they just see things that are just like a little bit different.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, he's called fights like we'll talk about. Sean is he's more than a coach. He's a good friend of mine too. We'll link up. With no fight going on, we stay in touch. That's I can't do that drive. 4 or 5 times a week without a fight coming up. It's just that would be insane. But when
Yeah,
I get
yeah,
a fight coming up, I'm up there 4 or 5 times a week. Outside of that, I'm up there once or twice a week. But we stay in touch and like we'll go out, me, him, Bulger, and we'll watch fights together and stuff. And he'll call those too. And he'll say things me and Mike are both like, yeah, Sean, I know you're usually right, but this time you're out of your mind.
yeah,
And
and
then
then boom.
that night, he'll do it.
God, you three out together must be scary. Talk about three bad dudes going out. If someone messed with you guys, that'd be the worst decision they ever made in their
The
entire
funny
lives.
thing is, we probably got laughed at more than anybody with the three biggest clowns. Man, anyone who's actually good at fighting, most of the guys, obviously, you get your assholes, but that's not how most people are. We most fighters I know goofballs.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's funny. I mean, I'm in awe of you guys. I mean, God, when you talk about Mike, I mean, I didn't know Mike. I mean, I knew him a little bit through Danny Kelly, just knowing that they were buddies and we covered Danny a lot and do a lot with him. But I was so impressed with his like Instagram page. I remember I saw him out at Roswell. He'll tell you the story. And I like saw him and I like couldn't remember. I go, I know you from somewhere, blah, blah, blah. And he's probably like, who's this old guy, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, Mike Baldry, you're a fighter, right? He's like, yeah, you. I was like, I follow you on Instagram. I love your stuff. And then that took off for us. We covered some of his fights. I had him on the podcast. I mean, what you guys do is a hustle. It's a little bit outside the realm of what we cover per se with high school and college athletics. But I mean, most fighters are athletes, or they played sports, or they're training in different types of fighting, different types of martial arts that
Yeah,
require strict and discipline and all the above, and the way you train yourselves and so on. I mean, it is a grind. It is a sacrifice. So I really respect the fight game, and I've kind of learned more about it from covering boxing gyms and now covering some fighters and kind of hearing their stories a little bit. Back to this guy for a sec. Back to this guy that you're fighting. So, all right, so you knock these guys out first, second round, boom, 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 boom. Now your manager kind of comes to you and says, "Hey, listen, we got an opportunity sliding into a fight." I mean, were the wins this impressive in the sense? I'm not trying to get you to gloat about yourself. Right? I'm not trying to make you do that, but I mean, they had to be that impressive, especially knocking down King Kong in the last one. I mean, for you to get a shot this quick.
yeah, that was a big boy. I'm gonna go ahead and plug myself real quick. They're on YouTube if anyone wants to go see them. So
Where do we
it's
find them? Where do we find them?
if you just Google, just YouTube my name and boxing, I'm sure you'll spell it out in the title there
Yep,
with
I
your
will. Yeah,
186th episode. But yeah,
yeah.
if you just YouTube my MMA fights up there, my boxing fights up there. I I box different than a lot of other people. I don't look like a traditional boxer. I kind of because I have that background of other things. I move really different. I can fight out of both stances. Um,
Damn. Yeah,
it's
that's
weird because
tricky.
like I'm a small big guy, if that makes sense. Like I've been in the ring with heavyweights, and I'm damn sure not a heavyweight. But then I go in the ring with average guys, and I'm way bigger than them. So it's like I'm kind of in a sweet spot there, where
Yeah.
like what I try to do is I try to be more athletic, uh, you know, quicker, faster, and smarter than the big guys, and then I try to if I'm bigger than them, then I play into the big guy thing. So I can kind of, depending on who I'm fighting, I like to try to lean into one side or the other. I'm not overly big, but I'm definitely not small. So try to take advantage where I can.
I mean, you can throw when you throw power punches, you can throw heavy from both sides, or because
Oh
you can
yeah,
fight both ways. Yeah.
oh
So
yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
I'm
that's
I'm actually a lefty.
yeah. Okay.
I
Wow.
eat right with my left hand, but growing up, everyone always taught me everything righty, and then I would kind of have a natural inclination to want to try it out the other way. So kind of just picked that up.
What now? What do you're tall, man. You're like 6'3", I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, 6'2", 6'3".
Okay, so you're a big boy. And then what's your weight?
I only walk around at like 212 pounds. I could
Wow.
sneeze and make my weight tomorrow. I
So
put
you
weight on
yeah.
for that 219. It was disgusting, man. As soon as my alarm went off, as soon as I got out of bed, I was drinking like a double, triple protein scoop with whole milk, trying to
Yeah.
make that heavyweight limit.
Just
It was
nonstop.
gross.
Yeah.
It was not comfortable. No.
I mean, so talk about that because you mentioned that, and I'm always intrigued by this more than anything. You mentioned you're kind that could sneeze and be at your weight class right now. So for you for fights, I mean, obviously going up in weight, that's a challenge we talked about. But is that kind of purposely done that you fight right around right? You're always right around your fight weight because cutting weight does anything to do with that, or is that
Yeah.
just you naturally?
Well, it goes back. A lot of it goes back to my amateur days because where I said that I'm a smaller big guy. I'm
Yeah,
kind of in a weird weight gap where there's not a lot of guys, and those weight classes don't get a lot of love. So as an amateur in kickboxing and MMA, the weight classes go from 70 to 85 to 205. In boxing, it went from 78 to they just changed. I forget if it was 201 to 203, or it was either 201 or 203, but the next weight class down was 78.
yeah,
So, and mind you, at that with amateur boxing, you weigh in the same day you fight. So I didn't really have an opportunity
yeah.
to cut weight and make 78. So I kind of used to. Oh, sorry, I think I lost you for a second
Don't
there.
worry, I got you. We got you.
I kind of used to just walk around it. What I walked around at, did the best I could at that weight, and fought everyone bigger.
Yeah,
Because it wouldn't have been healthy to kill myself to get down to that 78 limit. Yeah, so I'm kind of just got used to. I would get thrown in with the big guys because I was too big for the little guys in training. So I kind of just got
yeah.
used to it and got comfortable walking around that weight.
I mean, that's interesting because it is. I mean, I'm sure that's all a mental game too. Like you mentioned, just even putting on weight, the idea of waking up and knowing I got to do this and I got to do that. Like you're doing things that maybe are outside what you would typically do to cut weight or the train that you're just trying to put weight on. I'm sure that is a difference there.
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't comfortable at all. It I
Yeah,
felt I felt like the Michelin Man walking around. It was so
yeah.
bad. It was so
And then everybody else probably
uncomfortable.
like, "What are you talking about, dude? You look great."
Exactly. But I
Yeah,
was like, listen, I've cut weight too. Until you've had to put it on, then we'll talk about what's worse. It's just uncomfortable. But that being said, I did really well in that heavyweight fight, especially when I was in space. But when we did grab up, I'm not a heavyweight.
yeah.
that boy was strong.
Yeah. But I mean, it's great because I think, and again, from the aspect of like a coach and covering sports, there is that like you do learn about yourself sometimes when you are in situations you don't expect to be in, or in situations that you maybe are outmatched in a way, and you learn about like the mental toughness of yourself and your ability to kind of take a punch from a heavier person, fight through a heavier person. And like you said, knocking them out. I mean, it's kind of what your game has been in boxing so far. I mean, Yeah, dude, I can see why you have a title shot, and I can see why that's all happening so quickly for you. Now, as far as titles, the boxing always confuses me kind of with titles. This is a title fight for what again? What was the
So this
title?
is Massachusetts. The Massachusetts Boxing Commission sanctioned it as a title fight. Um, so this is a state. It's a state belt. It's the first rung of the ladder that I'm climbing up. So it's not a promotional belt. It's sanctioned by Massachusetts Boxing Commission, and that's pretty exciting.
That's
I
awesome.
believe the last guy to have it, I want to say off the top of my head, might have been Vinny Carita, and I believe he ended up retiring 39-1 or something like
Wow.
that. So it's kind of cool to follow footsteps like that, and as many big things as Sean has done. I mean, Sean was on the 2000, I think, 12 Olympic coaching staff. Not as a head coach, but he was on the coaching staff. He had a North American champion in Alexis Santos. He's had New England champions. I think Alexis had the North American belt. Don't hold me to that one, but I think he did. But he's never had a Massachusetts belt, so that'll be a first for us.
Hey.
So that's
I
cool.
love it, man. This is awesome. This is great stuff to hear. I mean, I know you're a tough dude. Like when I last time I saw you out, I was with a bunch of teachers afterwards, and I was like, "Oh, it's a former student." Blah blah blah. I was like, "Tough dude, tough dude." Like, so it's funny just to kind of hear that, like how I mentally pictured it with you, like knockouts, first round, second round. Like, yeah, that's exactly what I kind of thought he was.
Yeah,
Uh,
it definitely comes from challenging myself. I mean, my amateur kickboxing debut. Um, how much UFC would you watch? Do you know Rob Font, Calvin Cater, the New England
yeah, I know those
Cartel?
guys. Yep, yeah, I know Cater.
So
Yep.
I actually fought. My kickboxing debut was on 36 hours notice. I went up a weight class and fought a kid, Jonathan Dupree, who at the time was Rob's wrestling coach,
Wow.
because nobody would fight him. Someone dropped out, and they called me and were like, "Hey, can you drive up to Vermont tomorrow? We'll pay for your gas and your hotel." I was like, why not? Let's go." So that was my welcome to kickboxing. So I'm used to challenges.
How did that go? Just out of curiosity.
I lost a close fight. It was honestly my best learning experience as an amateur.
Yeah.
I ended up losing a close fight, but it was, like I said, it was a close fight. Went the distance.
Yeah, I mean, that's so impressive, dude. That's why I was curious because I was like, even if he lost this fight, it was probably a scrap. Like, it was probably like put you on the map a little bit of like, who's
I
this
had never
guy?
clinched before, so Jonathan was. I'm not sure what division it was, either Division 2 or Division 3, but either way, you'll know how crazy he was a collegiate wrestler,
Damn. Damn.
and I lost a fight in the clinch when I had never clinched before. So a guy like that grabs a hold of you, you learn real quick on the fly what to do. So it was I figured it out just a little bit, a little not enough, a little bit too late. So by the time I made the adjustments to be able to do it, I ran out of time and lost on the card. But it was a hell of a learning experience.
I mean, that speaks about you. I mean, yeah, I'll take this fight 36 hours. Yeah, I'll drive up to Vermont. They probably put you in some crappy hotel there too.
Yeah, it might have
And
been paid by the hour.
right, yeah,
it
that's what I
was, it
mean,
was.
right? Like, and then you just show up and you're fighting this guy who you have minimal film on, minimal study on, training on, who's is a name, is a person who is known, and you went the distance with them. I mean, God, I mean, moral victories, people say they don't exist, but that is as close as they come, I guess, to a moral victory because
Yeah,
that showed you a lot about who you were, I'm sure, as you maybe were like trying to think, do I want to pursue this? Is this the direction I want to go? After that, you're probably like, dude, when's my next fight? Like, I'm ready to go, you know?
actually, funny thing is, so first off, that is, yeah, oh shit, where's I going with that? I lost that one, but
It happens,
actually, it's
dude.
funny you said, oh, I was saying, when you were saying the moral victory, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I'll never celebrate a loss, but I wouldn't take that fight back. I
Yeah.
learned so much about myself and about the fight game. on that, which it was crazy because that was actually the calmest I had ever been before a fight. That was the first fight that like I didn't feel very anxious for, and I was actually turns out I was too calm. I didn't hit the gas. I was, a little too patient,
Yeah.
and it which was funny because I never felt better before a fight, and then
Yeah.
when you followed up there, you were like, oh, when's the next fight, whatever. I actually fought 3 weeks later, which that fight was also 3 days before I moved across the country. So I'm used to doing crazy
Yeah.
things on the fly.
Yeah, I mean, hey, sometimes it's the way to go. I mean, I think that's what you learn the most about yourself is
Oh,
like
100%.
when you get put into uncomfortable things, because uncomfortable things makes you like react based off of like instinct and thinking, and if you have time to think, and I think sometimes when your back's against the wall, that's who you find out who you are the very, very most, you know. Now you mentioned a lot of training and a lot of different fighting. I mean, obviously the boxing training is the boxing training that's best for boxing. I mean, I know you mentioned kickboxing and Muay Thai. For you, what's like the next, like, what's another training that you would maybe, if you're training for a big fight like you are, what else are you kind of doing on the side besides the boxing stuff to really train and be ready for this fight, in different perspectives, like stamina and things like that?
Um, any good boxer is also basically a semi-pro runner.
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah,
gotta do we gotta do so many miles, run, run, run. It's kind of the oldest thing in the book, but there's a reason that it's been around for so long with when it comes to boxing, sparring, skipping rope, running, you're good to fight. That's,
yeah,
I know a lot of boxers who they don't even really touch weights. They'll do some resistance training and medicine ball stuff to, keep the joints healthy, but you know, most boxers I know don't have impressive bench numbers or anything like that. It's all skill training and conditioning.
yeah. Now, like with all the different training that you do, like more like what's the hardest? Like I asked this because we cover high school wrestling. We cover the kids specifically, these two
Bingo.
brothers, the Tinsley brothers,
Bingo right there.
and they are like they're national like rank like Sid was a sophomore, was the number two wrestler in his weight class in the country. I mean, he's pretty
Honestly,
legit. And it's this guy showed up one night. I went to their family barbecue and he was an MMA coach. I forget his name. He was pretty well known. Everybody was like, "Oh, he's this, he's that. He's trained this guy. He's trained that guy. He's done this. He's done that." And I asked him, I said, "What's the hardest training?" And he said,
wrestling.
"Wrestling, wrestling,
100% wrestling.
wrestling." Yeah,
Wrestling. 100%.
yeah.
110% no way around it. Wrestling.
Is it just the cardio and conditioning? I mean,
It's the
are you doing a
mental, it's
lot
the
of wrestling in your
physical.
training for boxing? Like in the
Um,
sense of conditioning, or is that no?
in between
Yeah,
fights, I wrestle. But as soon as I signed the contract for a boxing fight,
yeah,
I think Sean would be pretty upset if I came in with a cut because I got headbutt during wrestling
yeah,
or something
yeah,
stupid. You know what I mean? But I
yeah,
do wrestle in between my boxing fights. The physical part between boxing and wrestling, I think is pretty close for what it is for me at least that separates the wrestling
yeah,
is the mental aspect. It's boxing, you can get by a lot with being tough, but with wrestling, you have to be there's no getting you have to get yourself out of every situation. So like what I mean by that is like boxing, right? Say I take a huge shot, right? My ears are ringing, my legs are wobbly, whatever. If I can kind of crowd the guy that I'm with, if I can either get way out and bounce around the ring and make him chase me still, depending on how my legs are, or if I can get in and grab him, manage to not get hit, hold him until the ref pulls us apart, make the ref really work to pull us apart, and then as soon as we pull apart, then go for a walk. I can burn 10 or 15 seconds to try to
yeah,
get my head back.
yeah,
If a wrestler picks you up and you go to the ground, there's no 10 or 15 seconds. You're
yeah,
you're getting yourself out or you're staying there. So it's
yeah.
that there's so many more times I've wanted to quit wrestling in wrestling than there is in boxing. In
Wow.
boxing, you can always buy time. In wrestling, there's nothing that feels more helpless than having someone hold you down and not being able to do anything.
God. Yeah, I just see it. Like I follow that team specifically these last couple of years because of those couple of kids and covering them in football.
What's the
And
name again? I'll have to check them
Shawsheen
out.
Tech High School, they were number one.
Oh, Shawshing Tech. Okay.
So Shawsheen Tech's the high school. They finished number one in the state this year, like beats on St. John's Prep, all these big schools. But the
Yeah.
Tidsley brothers, it's James and
Anthony brother.
Sid.
Okay.
One's a junior, one's a senior, and they've like the junior like no match went the distance this year. Like he's beaten it
Oh
like
Jesus,
and he went like yeah, their numbers are just like
that's
staggering.
impressive. That's really impressive.
Now, obviously, we talked about you fighting amateur MMA and obviously professional boxing. I mean, the training is somewhat similar and obviously different in a lot of its ways too. I mean, those types of fights, I mean, obviously MMA is like it is no holds barred. It's any type of fighting really versus boxing. You know, you're a little bit more control. You mentioned that you can buy time here or there. I mean, when you kind of train for both of these how, percentage wise, are you just the same type of fighter in both senses, or do you have to be different in boxing versus like an MMA? Or yeah, describe your styles. I'm so curious. Like, is it similar, the same, or is it something completely different?
I mean, I'm always a thought first, slick game plan type
Feel it out. Yeah.
fighter. That's what I want to go for. I mean, ideally, you know, the less you get hit, the better. I'm not someone who's ever gonna let myself get hit just because the crowd goes nuts. Like,
Right.
sorry guys, but it's they're not gonna be the ones wiping it out when I drool on myself later on.
Right.
It's
Right.
you gotta protect yourself. But with that being said, I'm not scared of going there with anybody if that's what it comes to. So
Yeah.
that's never what I want to do. But if it's for example, this title fight, if it's come round six and my coach says, hey, it's a close fight, you might be down, we're banging. There's fireworks. That's it. Um,
Now, I mean, so are you kind of like a power guy? I mean, when you knock guys out, is it like a power punch knockout, or is it like so many
I'm very
combos that they drop?
sharp. I'm very sharp. Like
Okay.
I'm not gonna throw one punch and put someone out.
Okay.
It'll come after a couple of them. It's very sharp. It's like a sniper, not a shotgun. I'm
Yeah.
very accurate. There's power on it, but it's not. I'm not gonna punch through a brick wall.
Yeah.
It's gonna, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it, and then all of a sudden you're gonna drop. It's not gonna. It's not a 12 gauge shotgun blast.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, for you, man, obviously this is a big fight. You've had some big knockouts. It's on YouTube. Social media for you. How much of a weapon do you use social media as for yourself? Now, let's say you're gonna win this, right? You're gonna win this. You're gonna be a champion. I mean, talk about social media for you. Are you posting a lot of things? Do you have a YouTube channel type stuff? How do you kind of put yourself out there as you're finding these next fights and let people see who you are?
Man, social media is my downfall.
Yeah, yeah.
It's tough, man. It's a job in itself.
Yeah, it
It
is,
really
dude.
is.
It
I'm
is.
trying to pick up I'm trying to pick up tidbits along the way of putting myself around people who are good at those things and taking advice from them. But man, it's a job in itself. I mean, I wake up at 4 in the morning. I bike 4 miles to work. I'm an electrician. I get out of work, I bike 4 miles home, then I got time to eat and get ready for the gym. It's just like the social media thing is so hard to
It
keep
is,
up
dude.
with. I just recently found out that, depending on, there's certain times that are better to post than others or you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But I'm working on it. I get some help. I get some help. Like I said, people, I've talked to you before, when I saw you at the bar at
Yeah.
the El Potro there in
Yeah.
Medford. I was asking you, a little about like how you get people to see and you know what I mean? I'm trying to take in as much as I can. It's man, that shit's a job in its own.
It
It's its
is.
own full-time job.
I will gladly help you with that stuff because I learned it from scratch and I learned it at like an older age. Like I didn't have social media on a personal level ever. So for me, it was really hard too. And it is. It's a lot of work because Yeah, you got to put stuff out there, and then it's about writing a good caption or picking a good song and tagging the right people. And
Yeah.
it is, it's a lot. And like just from the editing aspect of it, I mean, the one piece of advice I would give you is like, I don't know what the gym looks like when you're training in there, but if there's people who are just sitting and doing nothing or just watching or young kids, if you have like a cool sparring session going on, you're hitting the bag or let people kind of see, let them videotape you for 15 seconds. Throw it on your story. Throw it on your
Oh,
like. Just let people like see
I
that stuff
did
because
get
you
the
train
good
like an
video.
animal, dude.
I have gotten a couple good videos of shout out to Tim Brown. He did a couple really good videos for me. He's actually doing the Haymakers for Hope.
Oh,
The
okay.
next one, I don't know his date, but that's a great cause.
Yeah.
Um, it's if you're not familiar with it, it's a charity. It's an amateur charity event.
Yeah, we
It's
covered a fighter last year. Someone reached out to me and asked me if we could come in and do some videography work. So we did. It was a
yeah,
lot of fun. Yeah.
yeah. So my buddy Tim Brown, he trains. There's actually two boxing gyms in Haverhill. He's at the other one, and he's done some really good videos for me. They're up on my Instagram too.
Perfect.
So I'm talking to him about getting another one done, and then like you said, a lot of it's marketing, like the right name and whatever. That's where someone, because I'm in the union, local 103, somebody just in conversation, somebody said like, oh, the local kid, and I was like, I like that, and
Yeah.
then it kind of stuck, and
That's
that's
cool.
kind of the shirts now. I'll have to send you one.
Yeah.
All the shirts now, it's the local kid. You got the boxing glove with the lightning bolt for the local 103 on there too. So that
That's awesome.
yeah, it's I'm starting to pick it up little by little and take baby steps. But
That's a
yeah, like I
great
said,
God.
it's
That's a great go with that. Go with that,
yeah,
dude. You go with
yeah,
that.
we're getting on that. I'm actually getting my second round of shirts made up for this fight. So yeah, we're taking off with that. That was pretty
Local,
cool.
that's
It's
all. My
funny.
dad was local 103, man. Did it, I think 37 years, retired. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's awesome. I
man,
love
they've been
that.
huge. They've all the
Yeah.
support I've gotten out of there between tickets, shirts, even just people don't realize how much sharing Facebook posts help. You know what I mean? Promoters look at it because people don't even like. That's the biggest thing. I've known how to fight for a long time, but when I made my pro debut, I felt like I was starting over again. I know how to fight, but the business side of it is completely different. It changes everything. So
Yeah.
it's like you see the follows, the likes, the shares, all that matters because a promoter will look at a page and they'll be like, oh, at the end of the day, the name of the game is asses and seats. So if they look
Yeah.
at a page and a kid has 700 followers, they're a lot less likely to give them a gamble as
Right.
opposed to if they're looking and people are tagging somebody or something like the local kid takes off and they hear about it, they're a lot more likely to be like, oh, this kid has some traction. let's
Right.
let's see what he can do. You're a lot more likely to get chances.
Yeah, man. I was God. Yeah, when people start talking about this stuff, I love thinking. Like I was just like thinking as you were talking, like how to help you because it is like in this world of, and I'll say this, like in the world of like even building this, the one thing that I've always felt is like the right thing to do is always to help other people that are pursuing passions of theirs that they really want to succeed at or get to the highest level that they can. It takes a village of people being like, hey, I know this person that could help you out with this, or hey, I could do this for you, or hey, here's an idea. And I can't tell you how many things I've learned from other people because I'm like a caveman trying to figure out social media, and then someone's like, oh, you could do this, or do you know you can do that? I'm like, wait, you can do that? Like, or oh,
Yeah.
that's how you do that? And so
Yep.
that's
Oh,
like, I would say, like, just hearing you talk. You get up at 4 in the morning, dude. Just videotape yourself 4 in the morning. You're brushing your teeth. You're walking out the door. Even if it's like
yeah.
a cool morning, like just selfie yourself for like 10 seconds in
Yeah.
different segments. And God, I'll put a video together for you. Send it to me and I'll make it for you. Just so
Yeah.
like, I think like I put my life out here with this. Like on my social media, like you see me as a teacher, you see me as dad, you see me as doing the beyond stuff, you see like what I'm involved in. And I have my critics for it, but the thing I want to say is that I work really hard at this and I work hard at everything I do in my life, dude. You do the same exact thing. Like you work in a union, dude. People don't realize that you're in cold job sites for 4 or 5 months of the year. I remember my dad waking up at 5 in the morning to catch the train at Wellington to get into town every single day,
Yeah,
standing
yeah.
on that train track. And I just like that mentality alone,
Oh,
you are 75% better than any of the fighters that are
dude,
training out there
this
just because of
winter,
that.
this winter I was inside for the first time in 3 years. It was so nice.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's
And like
crazy. The last
that's
two
a
years.
mentality that you just either you got it or you don't. There's just
Yeah.
like no in between. And that like alone, like you mentioned the local guys backing you, like, yeah, man, that's like that is so representative of who they are and what you are and the type of dog you gotta be kind of to be different and separate than all these other people and winning titles and growing quickly. Like that happens to special people, man, and it starts with the work that they put into things. That's where that always begins to separate people from other people is the first 5 hours of their day and the work that they put into it and what they do.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Honestly, I think it directly translates. I mean, I look at it like this. A lot of the guys I'm fighting, if they need a perfect scenario for a local fight, they're not going where they think they are. If you haven't been in tough situations in your training and in your past, you don't want to find out how you react in the middle of a fight. You wanna have already been through every possible bad scenario 5, 6 times
Yeah.
before fight night. You know what I mean? You don't wanna learn on the job. You wanna already be prepared.
Yeah. And that's so important. I mean, and that's probably like even when you choose sparring partners and things like that, I'm sure that's all strategic. Like I think of being a coach and when we picked non-league games, a lot of the non-league games, it wasn't necessarily about playing like the best team you could go out there and find and play. It was kind of like, all right, these are the 5 teams in our league. These are the two really good teams in our league. This is the type of offense they run. This is the type of defense they run. Who can we find in these non-league games that kind of mirrors that? So we see that for once. We have positives. We take our lumps on certain things. So when we see it again, we now know who we are a little bit in our identity. For you, with like choosing boxing and sparring partners, is that just kind of like who's available, or is there like a strategic thought and idea of that partner, like maybe resembling your opponent in some sort of way?
You know, what's funny about that? Gotta give credit. The best person I've ever seen it doing that actually is if you look at most of Floyd Mayweather's fights,
Hmm.
the fight before one of his bigger names is usually a poor man's version of that guy.
Oh,
He is the
interesting.
best at picking that out. And, as far as us, we do try to get it. You gotta get what's available to a
Yeah.
point. We definitely do try to mimic certain things. And sparring changes a lot depending on how far we are or don't have a fight lined up, or how far we are from it. You the closer you get, you want to keep it in house a
Yeah.
little more. Accidents happen, or people could, if you go to another gym or someone comes in, they could be trying to make a name.
Right.
Because perfect example, when I go in and spar these guys, a lot of them, a lot of the pros I spar, this is what they do for a living already,
Yeah.
or they have an office job. I'm coming in and sparring at 70, 80%.
Yeah.
I've already been basically working out for 12 hours that day,
Yeah.
and they're coming in fresh. So it does put me in vulnerable spots in sparring. So the closer we get to a fight, we keep it more with friendly faces for sure.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Like you said, you never know who you have coming in if you don't know the person. They wanna like, why knock this dude out? Or I was beating this guy
Yeah,
in sparring. It's like, well, bro, that's not kind of the purpose of this, you know?
exactly.
Yeah,
Outside of a fight, in between fights, I
yeah,
love pushing it. I think a little more than my coach likes, but it's that's what we're doing it for. Try
yeah.
to push the limits a little bit. But when a fight comes, it's that's business. It's smart. That's when it turns into you know, Sean is there to reel me in, be like, hey, look, I'm not saying you can't do this. I'm saying, should you? And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? You're
Right.
right. You got that. You're right.
Yeah, the good outweighs the bad as the bad outweigh the good. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
I mean, for you going into a fight, walking in like in Melrose 23rd, do you have a certain song you come down to, or you kind of mix it up? And how are you mentally, mentally wise, mentality wise? I mean, are you just like locked in different human, or are we seeing who you are a little bit still, even when you're fighting?
Um, it's a mix. I stay very calm before the fight. My first fight ever was actually at. I'm sure you're familiar with the Doughboy fights in some of
Yep.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was my first. That was my first. My first fight, and I tried the whole Tyson thing, locked in, angry, ready to go, and I was like that way for about 3 hours. I was drained before the fight even started. I ended up
Yeah.
winning, luckily, but I was drained before the fight even started. That
Yeah.
it takes up too much energy. Man, I'm calm before a fight. You know,
Yeah.
when I'm in the on deck room, I'm locked in. But up until that point, I'm calm. I'm relaxed. I'm in the back, usually dancing to Latin music, like dancing around, shadow boxing light, maybe taking a nap. Um, I like to keep it calm. I don't know. I don't see a point in doing that.
Yeah.
Where we'll find out who's tough.
Right.
We're not playing a game. I can't blame it on anybody else or oh, you only beat me because blah blah blah. No, all right. If you're tough, we'll find out. There's no need
Yeah.
to. We don't have to put on a. We don't have to act like it now. You know what I mean? You're tough or you're
Yeah.
not, and we're gonna find that out.
I mean, I find that so funny. Sometimes on my Instagram feed, like there'll be certain things that come up, and one thing was like a boxer humbling a boxer. I mean, an MMA fighter humbling an MMA fighter. And this guy, they show him press conference, like running his mouth, running his mouth, running his mouth. And then as soon as they get in the cage, they go to like bump gloves, and the other guy's just been quiet. He hasn't said much, and like, but you can tell he is ready. And right before the bell rings, the camera's on him, and he's like, he goes now you can't run. And like the guy's face just went like they show the other
Yep.
guy's like eyes just go up like, oh my
Yep.
God, I just like unleashed a monster here. Like,
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
So I get super focused walking out, and then once the bell rings, I'm calm again.
yeah,
I'm in there. Look, I signed up for this. This is what I wanted to do. I'm having fun. I'm in there
yeah,
relaxing. If you watch my fights, I'm bouncing around, shaking my arms out, relaxing. I love talking during fights. Actually, the last kid I fought was the only one who talked back to me so far. So I
yeah,
love, a little bit of shit talk makes it fun, makes
yeah,
it, a little more interesting. Yeah, man, just out there to have fun. That's, no one's making us do this. I'm there because I want to be. So enjoy it. You
yeah,
never. That's the thing with this sport. You're not on a 3-season contract or whatever. You never know when your last fight is.
right.
Sometimes that decision's taken out of your hands. So enjoy every moment of it. That's what I try to keep in the back of my mind.
What, so tell us a little bit more about the show. Let the people know here that are listening and the fans that are listening. Friday, May 23rd, Melrose, I wrote Melrose
Yep.
Memorial Hall.
Melrose Memorial
Um,
Hall.
how do we get tickets? How do we get there?
I have
What's the deal?
tickets.
Okay.
I have tickets. You can contact me through Facebook, Instagram, um, email, whatever. Guys, if anyone knows fighters, and you're ever interested in going or anything like that, always ask the fighter because a lot of times, for example, with this fight, for example, that's how fighters get paid. A lot of times, fighters don't get show money. In the early stages of fighting, you get a piece of what you bring in. The promoter hands you a fat stack of tickets, and you hand them back some money, and you get a piece of it back.
Yeah.
That's we don't get. We're not at the point where we get money just for showing up. So, if anyone's ever supporting a fighter, even if it's not me, if anyone listening knows a fighter that they go to, don't go online and get them. Hit up the person and ask them like, hey, what's the best way to get tickets or whatever, because like I said, the support is great no matter what, but on the financial side of it, it's that is the only way a lot of fighters make money.
Yeah. Do you roll with the crew? I feel like fighter that we cover, I mean, Bulger rolls with the crew a little bit. I feel like when he goes has a fight, do you feel like I don't know if it's like an old school Mefford thing, like if you were went to school in Mefford, whatever, but all those kids turn out for events, man. It's funny seeing so many former students at all these events. I mean, do you
Oh
roll
yeah.
deep?
I actually main evented my pro debut because of my ticket sales. So I
Damn.
I get a good I get a good turnout. I get a good turnout. You look out, you'll see the local kid in the Digangi shirts all over the place. Um, anyone reaching out for tickets, ask about the shirts. Actually, I post the shirts on my Instagram too, so
Yeah.
those are all on there. Everyone see. We got some pretty cool designs. Um, yeah, we're actually I'm actually another thing I'd love to talk to you about,
Yeah,
off
go
air,
ahead.
go get some dinner or something, whatever. Trying to work on, building a website, trying to get
Yeah.
everything up there, find a way to, do that. Just, it's the business side of it. It's the stuff that I didn't sign up for that I'm trying to learn how to do now.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so
it's
true.
hard, man. It's hard.
I mean, God, I remember when I became a head high school coach. And the one thing that I honestly underestimated about the job the first year, like, and I say this to a lot of young coaches, is just how much you now have to do to be like before when I was a coordinator, I was just coaching football and coaching defense and game planning. And that
Hmm.
was it, man. And if I ever go back, I mean, I left, I have kids, it's different now for me, but if I ever went back into coaching, being a coordinator would be it for me because being the head guy, like for yourself, like, yeah, on top of everything that you just mentioned, and waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going to work all day and putting in a full day and then going home and barely maybe having just enough time to eat, the commute, the time that you commute to go to your gym, put in the work, the commute back, and you're doing that every single day. I mean,
Yep.
God, that itself is exhausting. And to add in the social media aspect that we talked about, to add in building a website and getting swag out and doing your ticket sales and really pushing your fights, I mean, that's another full-time job. And you're not getting compensated from it. Your compensation is the work that you put in the gym to win these fights and put yourself in those
Yeah.
situations. But the other two-thirds of it is you having to be your biggest fan and your biggest cheerleader, like because if you're not, like no one else is doing that for you. So it's a grind process right now, but you're in the position that you're in because you never shy away from that. So like keep letting that be your identity, dude, because that is
Yeah.
where you are right
Trying,
now
man. I'm
because of
trying. I'm
that.
trying.
Yeah.
I'm
I
trying.
mean
It's
that.
like five full-time jobs in one.
Yeah. And it's exhausting and you're young enough, man. I mean, I'm 42 and like I teach and I do this and I run a summer camp and obviously like I'm all in like I'm a dad, I'm a dad. Like God, I waited forever to be a father. So like for me, like that stuff trumps everything. But like
Yeah, of course.
but the idea of like you're putting the work in to be better and to do better for yourself and you're taking not the easy road that everybody else takes and has a job and lives off of that job like you have that and on top of that you're now trying to build a brand trying to build you're trying to build another thing that most people couldn't do full time just that alone. I think it's really highly impressed. That's why I'm like, dude, videotape yourself waking up, or videotape yourself at the gym, or get someone to do that
Yeah.
because that story is a story that people should really start seeing. You're tough, dude. You're gonna knock people out. You're gonna win the 23rd. Like, let's be real. Like, all that stuff's gonna happen. So let people see. Now, it just is my opinion. I'm also just standing here saying this stuff, but
No,
like,
I mean you're right. I mean, look at the pod. Look at what you've built.
yeah,
This podcast here. Look at to be completely honest, I saw your podcast before I realized it was you. Like not saw the video. Obviously, I would have known, but like I
yeah,
heard the Beyond podcast. I heard it thrown around a bunch of times, and then I saw Mikey on it when Mikey did it, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's Mr. P."
yeah.
So it was like, you know what I mean? It's it's yeah, it's a lot to build,
It
and
is.
you've done it here.
Yeah. And that's the thing I think, and I hear you talk, and this is stuff I used to say too. Like, I'm like, God, I was like that too. God, I was like that too. But like the hardest thing for me was really putting my accomplishments out there. And I still at times I put certain things out there, and it's hard to put it out there because I like I sometimes let people's opinions mess with my head or think like, God, people just think I'm just bragging about myself or talk about myself. But then I realize if you put all that hard work to achieve things and get those things, why aren't you then showing off who you are and what you've done and so on and so forth? And I just hear you talking. I think that I'm like, God, we just got to get him to show himself off more
It's funny,
because,
man. I go back and forth. It's funny. My coach says that all the time. He always tells me I got to get in front of a camera because he's like, you are so much better, in person talking to people, and you're likable. You can be funny. You're respectful. You're humble. But I don't like bragging on social media. It's like I go back and forth. What
yeah,
you just said about, but I worked hard for these accomplishments. I go back and forth with that every day. Some days I wake up and, I don't want to be. We all have those friends who, maybe not today, but a few years ago, all the what do they call it? The multi-level marketing, like, hey, look at
yeah,
me, look at this, check this out. You don't want to be one of them. But then other days I wake up and I'm like, damn, I'm doing really good. Like,
yeah,
I am doing things that other people can't do. And then the next day I'll jump back. It's, you're always flip flopping, kind of.
yeah.
Yeah, it's always a
Yeah, and
grind.
I've just said like I've learned just to be like, you know what? Just keep winning, man, because that's like what you're doing is and I like I said, you said it too. I struggle with it too. But I also look at it as like I know that people have certain opinions about certain things that I throw out there or do or say or whatever, and that's okay. But I'm also not doing it for those people, right? Like if I was doing
Yeah,
what I do for me to really worry about that so much, then why am I doing this, right? Like that's just how
yeah,
I look at it. Like I have to put stuff out there. I have to understand opinions come. So yeah, dude, don't hesitate with that for a second because the second I started doing that more and realizing how important that really was, this quickly got a lot better because people
yeah,
start putting behind like wow, they did this, they accomplished this, they won this, they did this so quickly, like you, like getting a title fight in your fifth match. I mean, that's like, I mean, dude, that's crazy. Like people should know that. When you said it, I was like, holy cow, 5 fights, that's it. Like, but that says something about you, you know? So yeah, sorry, dude, don't mean to get on my soapbox, but I hear
no,
that.
no,
I go,
no. It's
God, dude, you
it's
gotta
you know,
do it.
it's
You
just
gotta
I'm
do
I'm
it.
just trying to take it in and learn. It's funny. Like I've said those same things to like my friends and younger fighters. Everything and it's easy to tell myself that until like that's in your face and you hear a negative comment or someone always full of himself, whatever. And then you kind of like, shit, am I doing too much? Like, am I that guy? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's always a back and forth, man. Always.
Yeah, it is, and I think that that's the tough thing about social media, right? I mean, that's when you see all these docus out on like how it's just so mentally
Bad
can
with the
sometimes
good.
mess with people. Like, I get it, dude. Like, I kind because you see that stuff, you're like, Dad, what? You know, and then you start living it, and you're like, this is a real thing. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it is hard. It is hard, but you know what? Baby steps, dude. Baby steps, right? You got a
But
big
like, it
fight coming
kills
the
me. It seems
23rd.
like these days, the dumber things are, the more they take off. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like we've all seen and heard some of the Conor McGregor tweets, and
right.
those get blown up more than anything.
It's crazy. It is
It's
crazy.
insane. Or even like this whole. I would I would love to fight this man because it's getting old. But this whole Jake Paul stunt,
Yeah.
like, come on, man, the guy can't
What
fight.
do box? Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, you said it. I always wonder what boxers think of this
So
because,
I'll say this,
yeah,
back to we were talking about the grind. That man is working 24/7. He is a phenomenal self promoter.
I mean,
You know
yeah,
what you say. Catching people's attention, this and that. The eyes that he's brought on to the sport is incredible.
yeah,
But as far as his actual boxing ability, eh, he's a C-level fighter.
yeah,
He's if you go if it's over now, but I saw much better fighters at the Golden Gloves in Lowell. Never mind what I would do to the guy in his own weight class.
yeah. I mean,
But
it's so interesting
he gets
because
those
yeah,
chances
right.
because of his mouth and him bringing eyes to the sport. So it's like you said, you can't care what people think. It's so much
Yeah.
easier said than done.
Yeah. And it is, right? Like you look at someone like that and you're right. Like there's moments he says things and I'm just like, did he just say like who says that, But it's also like that's part of the game, clicks and
Crazy.
likes and clickbait and like
He's about to fight a legend son. I don't know if you
right.
know he's fighting Cesar Chavez Jr.
Yeah, I just
That's
recently saw that.
crazy.
Yeah.
He shouldn't even look. Chavez Jr. is not even a shadow of what his father is, and Jake Paul shouldn't even be tying his shoes.
Yeah.
Like,
It is
and he's
wild.
sharing the ring. It's crazy how the whole social media thing works these days.
Yeah. And they puts on a show and I mean, the whole Tyson thing was I don't care what anybody says. That was just about like
That
them
was,
breaking records of seals and that
in my
was
opinion, that was a lose lose.
right,
I would never be able to do that.
right,
That's a legend. You can't knock him off where he belongs.
right.
He's an old the dude's a year away from Medicare. Come on.
I
Like you
mean,
can't
yeah.
like that's not right.
When
I don't
people were
care who he
surprised,
was
I
in
was kind of like,
2000.
"What are you surprised?" I mean, I'm not
Oh,
like
everyone's like,
I
"Oh, did
wasn't
you see him?"
expecting Tyson
Come
20
on.
years ago to come out and like bite somebody's ear off, but he was also realistic knowing that like he's fighting a younger guy who's just in
He's
better
a
shape,
he was high late 50s, 60-year-old man
Right,
fighting a kid juiced out of his mind in his athletic prime.
right,
It don't matter who that was. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I
It's
agree.
just it's crazy. But look at where the self promotion can get you. It's
Right.
crazy.
The
And
money it makes you.
he's laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah. See, well, yeah, and then he has to go back to the bank at the second trip with the rest of the money. So, uh,
Exactly. Exactly.
um,
It's a crazy world we live in now. It's
yeah.
it's so hard trying to find the balance to that.
Yeah. But we'll talk to you. We'll definitely talk social media stuff off the air
Oh,
and we'll
most
get together
definitely.
and that'll be
Most
fun,
definitely. We gotta
dude.
put a night aside for that.
Yeah. But listen, I appreciate you coming on here today. I'm super excited about your fight the 23rd. Again, in Melrose, Friday, May 23rd. Any like ticket links or anything like that, feel free to send to me. We'll post on our story throughout to try to help you out to sell as
Yeah,
many
so
tickets we can.
unfortunately with this promotion,
Yeah.
they don't have a online way to credit me, so I have to deal
Okay.
with the tickets myself.
Okay, cool, cool.
That being said, I do have my Venmo set up like as a business thing,
Yeah.
so I can do Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, cash,
Yeah. All right,
whatever.
whatever we
And,
have to show or do, we'll do for you. Yeah.
yeah, most definitely.
Okay,
Most
cool.
definitely. For off the top of your head, that is the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. Um, so just
Nice.
to throw that out there,
That's
nice,
great,
nice
dude. It's
little
an
way to
extra
kick
long
off Memorial
weekend.
Day weekend with
Yeah.
a nice little local bang. Um, yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
excited.
You're gonna be a winner on many levels that weekend, dude.
Oh yeah,
BBQ and drinking beers and winning a title. I mean, God,
that's
who
it.
could spend a better American Memorial Day weekend than that?
Oh my God, yeah. Oh yeah, we're winning every day that weekend.
But I appreciate no, and I mean it. Like we've run into each other a bunch of different times throughout the last few years, and I'm always excited to see you, and always excited to kind of ask you about your career and what's been going on. And I know the last time we saw each other, we talked about Local 103. I think we had talked about that at the beginning, and then we kind of jumped into the fight world. But I'm really glad to hear the success. I'm not surprised. Like I said, dude, you're a bad man, man. I love it. I
Thank
love
you,
it. And
thank you.
whenever
It
there's
means a
former
lot.
students and doing really well. I always get them on here and love to kind of hear their stories a little bit. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate your story, man. And
Thank you,
this
thank
was
you.
cool. This was cool.
It was great. I'd love to do it again after.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So listen, our guy's gonna be a champ. Listen when you win the belt. Okay, I'm being a little maybe I don't know if this is like the right thing to be saying this
No,
stuff
no, no.
superstitious.
See it into existence. That's
Okay,
that's
yeah.
that's the way we
So
are.
when
Speak it
you
into
win this
existence.
belt, we'll get a picture of you, we'll post it, and then we'll get you back on here. And we'll talk about
Hell
the
yeah,
fight a
let's do
little
it.
bit and see what's kind of next for you. But anything we can do for you, my friend, you just reach out and I mean that. We'll promote, we'll share anything
I appreciate
and
it,
get
man.
things
Thank
out
you,
there for
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, guys. We got Medford baseball documentary. We got a couple more weeks of it coming up. We're going to be back in Lowell with them, where the Spinners used to play. Unbelievable facility. So it'll be fun to kind of videotape there. And then a few things at the end of the year. We got some senior nights. We got some award ceremonies we're going to be doing, emceeing some events. We're going to be talking about our major 50th birthday that's going to be coming up in October and what we kind of have planned for that. So stay
Nice.
tuned. We're going to be busy, busy, busy. Episode 186. Our guy, Jarrid Digangi. Thanks for coming on here today. I'm your host, Anthony Petrellis. Till next time.